Morning, everyone. It's Andrew and Austin with Supercharged Stocks. Happy Friday. Today's a big day. We've got Andrew Bowering from PRYM Mining on, amongst other things, but we're going to focus on PRYM Mining today. But we want to get a couple of housekeeping things out of the way first. And the first one is the listing of Graphene Manufacturing Group. So GMG, they put out their news release over the wire yesterday. They closed their transaction to as an IPO, or sorry, as a listing transaction. And this is a really exciting one. This is it's graphene, but they're different in the sense that they're not mining for graphite. It's not a mining play. This is a graphene company that is using natural gas or methane. They've got a really interesting technology. So this is a really interesting kind of what's the term? New way to look at the potential low cost but efficient use of graphene. So we're really interested about GMG. We're going to get into it in depth. We're going to have a lot to say about it, and of course we'll hopefully have Craig Nickel, who's the CEO of the company, on. This is a company that was been private for quite some time, and there's a lot of interest in this space. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a nice thing to see come together behind the scenes. I know we've been waiting on this listing for a while. It's a super exciting path forward. Graphene is extremely exciting. It's been an awesome deal to put together, hell of a management team, and we're looking to get in touch with them and talk to them going forward and finding exactly what they're all about. Yeah,
and then I just have one more mining one before you have an update for huge numbers for QU. But Carlyle Commodities Corporation as well. They came out some good numbers in Sonora as well, which is next. It's close to Andrew and his play in Los Reyes. But this is the Cecilia project in Sonora, Mexico, and they hit 24 meters of about 1.51 gold per ton. They did a couple drill holes, and I think they hit these numbers like 2 meters down. So I had to reread that a couple times because it said 2.3 meters, and usually you're used to seeing like 230 meters. But this is basically very near surface. They're going to have another hole, and I believe that hole is coming out in a week or two, and that one is actually deeper extension of that 24 meters of 1.51 gold. So lots of news, lots of attention. It's got more attention coming to it. It was a bit of a sleep there for a while, but it's coming roaring back. So interesting, good results. This is Riverside Resources who's operating that project for Carlyle Commodities and working good over there. So back on the radar, we're keeping our eyes on that one. And then, Austin, you wanted to jump out because there's one we can't not mention.
You simply can't ignore the news that's coming out from QU Media this morning. I know the last time we touched on it, we were really excited about their GRP growth from about 4.4 to I think they hit it was about 12.6, 12 point something like that. And then we had a conversation with Kurt where he had mentioned, we'd really like to see in this next round of reporting get it to about 25. Well, they absolutely shattered that. Yeah. They blew it out of the park. Their GRP growth is up to just over 46.
Yeah,
that's incredible. I know I mentioned it the last time we talked about it, but GRP essentially equals revenue. It gives you a bigger pull to get advertisers into your channel. This is incredible growth. It's fantastic. I know we're going to take a lot of time next week to dive into it a bit more, but we'd be out of our minds to not mention that.
That's huge. And the dream is that hopefully there'll be like some big names that we'll hear that are coming on board. They'll see these numbers and I mean, the hope is you start to hear some big name companies that are saying, hey, look at these numbers. They're beating Viacom. They're beating so we'll see.
I think they're even bigger than Disney's poll in India right now. Perfect. So you should see tons of exciting news coming for them over the next few weeks.
Excellent. Well, great. Well, you know what? Enough of that. What we're here to really talk about is Andrew Bowering and PRYM Mining. And I'm just going to jump in and just say the last time that Andrew and I actually were chatting and met was about 2 years ago now at Mines and Money in London. And what has been done in 2 years. But even back then in 2 years, you were in the pitch battle, and the finals of the pitch battle there with Amex Exploration. Everyone knew you guys were onto something. I mean, there was enough that you blew a lot of the other companies out of the water with that pitch battle. So even 2 years ago, people knew you're up to something here, and you certainly have been. So there's a lot to cover, but how are you doing? You must be exhausted but excited.
That describes it well. Thank you very much, Austin and Andrew. 2 years ago, and I think the only reason we lost that pitch battle back then was because John Goodman didn't like Mexico, and
Yeah.
now I think there's a lot more interest in Mexico, and we're thrilled to be there. A lot has happened. Back then, we were a 15 to 20 million market cap company. Now we're north of 300 million, fully diluted 450 million cap, and Prime's one of those things that might be close to never having to issue another share. Like, keep your fingers crossed, things are looking really good. So,
that's what's so impressive is that, I mean, you just finished. I mean, you did an original round. I'm going to say almost a year ago, 10 million with Desjardins, and then you've done another 25 million bought deal here. A couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, that's right, at 295. So, I don't know, 30 something million in the treasury on closing here, and then there's another 25 million warrants that potentially bring in another, I don't know, 40 or 50 million dollars. So we're in pretty good shape. We are funded to complete 40,000 meters of drilling, and that should be enough to tell you, is this thing going to be 2 to 3 million oxide ounces or north of 3, and whose sort of wheelhouse does it fit to maybe as a potential takeout target? Or are we going to build it ourselves? There's a lot of optionality in this company, and maybe we spend a little bit of time. As you know, Pierre Lassonde is our largest shareholder.
Yes.
Pierre owns about 14% of the company. He's participating in this financing, and I don't know, he'll disclose in the next few weeks. And my guess is maybe he'll be at, I'm hoping, north of 15%, 16 or something. I don't know. We'll see.
That's such an exciting thing too. I mean, you get fully funded is often people, they always want to see like who owns the stock, who's behind the stock. And I mean, I think Austin was going to talk a little bit about some of the names on the management, which are outstanding. But certainly when you have someone like Pierre Lassonde, who, if you don't know, Franco-Nevada, co-chairman at Newmont. I mean, this is a billionaire, big name in mining. Everyone knows the name. For him to throw his hat in the ring is a big deal. It's a really big deal, and it must be a great testament to you to have someone like that that's so excited about the project.
It makes it easier, and it makes it exciting every day. So yeah, can't wait to tell you guys all about the project and tell your listeners about what's going on. So.
Well, maybe do you want to give us a little insight into the management team first? I know you guys have the former CEO of Ivanhoe Mines. You've got the former chairman of Discovery Metals Corp. Do you want to walk us through kind of the overall management team and how this all came together?
Absolutely. So about 3 years ago, I started looking for a gold project. I'm a shareholder of Minera Alamos and knew they really were not going to be able to do 3 things at once. And I approached them to buy Los Reyes, and they were tight on cash at the time. They agreed to sell it. And then it was a matter of putting the right people together. So reached out to Greg Liller. Greg's built 4 mines in Mexico. And so I had a geologist that knew Mexico and could build mines there, and reached out to Dan Coons. I'd worked with Dan's boss at Morrison Knudsen, Dennis Washington's company, many years ago. Anyway, so Dan agreed to come on as executive chair, and when he cleaned up a little bit, or cleaned up his other duties, what's key about Dan is that he spent 17 years founding director of Chesapeake. They're 90 kilometers away, so they're very familiar with the region. Anyway, last year on my birthday, he agreed to take over the CEO role, and that was massive.
Yeah.
Murray John joined at that time. Murray's a mining engineer with an MBA, years with Ned Goodman at Dundee, and as you said, chairman of Discovery Metals. Also sits on the board of Osisko. So 2 really strong guys to lead the company, but it doesn't stop there. We've got Paul Sweeney as an independent director and chair of our audit committee. Paul was CEO for Sutton, which was bought by Barrick per Ballianhulu, and he was bought, and he was CFO of Canico, which was bought by Vale. So Mark Prefontaine, also another independent director, but for his geologic prowess, and Mark was CEO of Grade, which was bought by Agnico Eagle for about $275 million, and he was co-founder and CEO of Orla, which currently trades at a market cap of north of $1 billion. and has Agnico as a big investor, Newmont as a big investor, and Pierre and Trinity as big investors. So just a great pedigree of management, and I guess, you know, having such a strong group really tells you how tough it was in this space 2 years ago, because you just wouldn't be able today to align all this talent.
Yeah.
Oh, now as I see, as you turn the slide, there's Carrie Sparks. Carrie was the VP of, first of all, Carrie's claim to fame is that he was responsible, or the discovering geologist for Diamond Fields, the big nickel discovery in Voisey's Bay.
Yes.
But Carrie was VP geology for Franco-Nevada for 7 years. He's now our EVP and running the whole show. So pretty excited about that. We've got a whole mess of people that have a lot of experience in Mexico in exploration, development, and production, including a CFO, a VP corporate finance, and I've worked in Mexico for about 25 years. So great team. What can I say?
It's absolutely astonishing to be able to get a team like that together. And we always ask questions of CEOs, presidents, founders, people who can originate this type of thing. It's that the model of putting together the right team is so critical, and you have to have the project to at least excite someone to draw them in. But it's more than that. It needs to be, you know, the right time, the infrastructure, like the sun, the moon, the stars need to align. And in this case, they certainly have.
That's exactly the truth. You need the right time more than anything. Timing's everything in this space. You need the right asset, the right management, the right structure, and the right shareholders. And if you get all those things together, you got a winner. We have a winner here. So
Excellent.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So now let's get into a little bit about, because there's a lot of news to catch up with the drill program. And I'll just give a kind of high grade overview. You've doubled the land position. You've got 5 drill cores drills going right now, I believe. You'd hit bonanza grade gold, silver mineralization. I mean, there's been constant news stream, and not that I want to get 2 years worth of information done, but let's just go over, you know, a little bit of the story and get us up to where we are today and what we're looking at.
Okay, so simply, we put out a resource, the first maiden resource, April 2020. It's about 1.1 million ounces gold equivalent at 1.3 grams. It's all oxides. It's 80% gold, 20% silver. It sits at surface. It goes down 200 meters, and it's open in most directions and to depth. Only 40% of the known structures have been systematically explored. We are finding new structures all the time. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit to expand the current resources. There's a lot of opportunity to increase at depth, and there's a lot of opportunity to check out the new structures that we're finding. We did announce some results a few weeks ago, and at the same time, we announced a new surface discovery. And here's what's exciting. We sent some, based on the modeling that Carrie Sparks has been doing, he suggested that where north-south trending structures collide with east-west structures, you get these big blowouts of mineralization. And so crews should be looking in certain areas. Well, we sent some crews over to areas where nobody had been, and we found some uncharted adits. So we have maps from the 80s to date. That means nobody from the 1980s to date was exploring these. We were unable to go into 2 of the adits because they were flooded, but one we got into and our crews took some samples. We announced those samples a few weeks ago. The best one was 2.3 meters channeled right across the vein, or chipped across the vein, of 30-gram gold and 1,140 gram silver. That's bonanza grade mineralization, mineable widths. Here's the thing. That's at 1,140 meters above sea level. We have in the same news release, we announced a drill hole from Guadalupe East, which is 1.3 kilometers to the west. And that drill hole's intersection was at 500 meters above mean sea level. So what we're suggesting now is that we know or are confident that the epithermal column, that boiling zone, is 500 plus meters on this property as you go to the east. That's massive. Yep. Most of these systems just don't get that big. You have a massive footprint here. The deposits that that we currently have in the resource, and there's 7 or 8 of them, stretch over 3 to 4 kilometers. This is a big, it's a district. It's not just a property. And yeah, I see you put up on the screen here where Mina. So we are currently drilling here at Guadalupe East, and we are drilling 150 meters below any previous drilling or any mining. So as a result, you're getting what we announced a couple of weeks ago. What was it? 20 or 22 meters of, I can't even remember now. It was 9 gram gold, and I can't remember. Is it on the screen?
Yeah, so it was, you had 8.95 grams per ton gold, 74.5 grams per ton silver, over 4.5 meters.
There you go. And then I see GE1 20.1 meters at 3.25 grams gold and 380 grams silver. Yeah. That's a 20 meter intersection. That's 150 meters below any previous drilling. So we know that's our first drill hole there. We know that this thing's getting bigger. Yeah. It stretches in several directions. There are several. So we just recently flew an airborne survey.
Yep. Yeah.
And you think, well, Jesus, you guys are drilling. You got 5 drill rigs on the property. How is it that you're now going back and doing some geophysics? And to tell you the truth, when we got the property, it never had a really good surface prospecting geology and mapping program done on it. So we've gone and redone the whole property, prospecting, sampling, and mapping it all. We've got some beautiful geologic maps now, and we've identified many new structures. In order to, because they're under the cover of new volcanics, we kind of need to get some indication how they might lie. So we flew a property-wide airborne EM program. We flew LIDAR. We are also doing a massive soil grid sampling program over all these new structures while we drill on the known structures. A lot of news flow coming, a lot of excitement. What was it? I guess the week before we announced the financing, we put out our first 13 additional holes from 4 different regions we're drilling. There are 5 diamond drills operating right now. We have finished 33 holes now. I don't know what that represents, 6,000 meters, maybe 7,000 meters now. But we're hoping to finish 15,000 meters of drilling before the rainy season starts at the end of August. We'll take a 6 to 8 week break in drilling then to go over all the data, to model it all, and then we're going straight into a 30,000 meter phase 2 program. And this is clean. So far we haven't hit a sulfide patch. It's just it's straight oxides. That intersection down at 500 meters above mean sea level, 320 meters down hole at Guadalupe East is oxides. It's heap leachable. It recovers at 95% gold and 80% silver using CIL. We know that from the past. See, there has been PFS work done. There was a PFS done on the western part of this property in 1998. So there's a lot of information to go back and look at that helps us with all the new stuff that we're finding.
Yes. And I remember when I first talked to you, and that was even before Mines and Money in London. And I mean, the story is the same, but it's dynamically changed. But it hasn't at the same time. It hasn't, because I remember sitting there and you said, listen, this is different because it's a near production story. And we were kind of laughing that, that's such a rarity in the junior mining space. It's usually, let's go find something, sell it off and move on. This was, no, we think we've got something here. We can produce it. This is the right time. And this is the resource. And we think we can expand it. I think there's more there. Where now it's kind of like, okay, now we know there's no more there, but this is actually turning out, to be significant.
Well, so I'm glad you asked that, because that's why we hired Dan. At first, we thought this would be fast-tracked into production. And then we quickly realized that slide you had up with the resource on it gives you a perfect indication of it. We had, at a 0.7 or a 0.9 gram cutoff, you have 500,000 ounces of gold. There you go. You got at a 0.9 cutoff there, you got 500,000 ounces of gold at 2 grams. And you got 13 million ounces of silver at 2 ounce silver. You're not going to throw that on a leach pad. You're not, because you're only going to get 76% of the gold and 25 of the silver. So that's got to go to a CIL plant. We realized fairly quickly that since there was 1.1 million ounces AUEQ here, that if we didn't spend more time thinking about how we process it using a leach and a CIL, we could end up leaving 250,000 ounces of gold stranded on a leach pad. That's not going to happen given the price of gold. The market got strong for that during that time, and we were able to fund exploration. Trinity Capital Partners came on. They saw it. They recognized that this thing could be a monster. And so they were our strategic partner. They put up that $10 million, them and their friends, and the rest is history. Our last financing was 50 cents. Now, of course, as you see, $25 million round at 295. So they saw it. They thought that the structures could host several million ounces. We believe it. Dan will tell you that there's 2 to 3 million. Had this been modeled in 2013 before you had to put economic conditions to your resource calculations, we would have been reporting a 1.7 million ounce global AUEQ at north of a gram gold. So that resource calculation that we did was based on 72% recoveries for gold, 25% for silver, and it was based on $13.20 gold price and $16 silver. So there's already a lot of juice in the orange that we haven't squeezed out. So it's going to be a lot bigger.
Yes. I mean, not only, a couple of things here. I don't think anyone sees silver going below 20, never mind 16. Those days, I don't see that coming in any time in any foreseeable future. Same with gold. Things are looking robust on those commodities. Never mind just for the fiat concern, but for the industrial use of silver as well. So the economics are catching up at such a rapid rate. The infrastructure is there. It's like one thing after another. And it's one of those happy pivots of, listen, we're a near production story, which is still true, but now it's gotten so much bigger. It's like, let's put a break on that producing part because there's a lot more going on than we originally kind of thought.
Exactly. And so you've got a team, and that's the nice optionality in Prime. You've got a team that's built mines before, that can build a mine again. You could permit this and have it operating in probably 2 to 3 years if you wanted to. But let's see how big it is first. And so at the end of the day, someone's either going to buy it, or we're going to put it into production. And this board is very aligned with shareholders. We will do what's right for the shareholders.
Well, that's fantastic, and it's without using a play on words here, but it's a prime example of everything that we look for when we're looking at a company. You guys have the right management team in place. You've got the financing behind you. You guys, cash flows look fantastic, and the results are pouring in. It is exactly everything we want to see when we're looking at a company that's involved in this sector.
And having that ability too, because there are companies that can find a resource and then when they go to negotiate, I'm going to sell. A new model look go, you're not going to develop this. You don't want to own a mine. You're not going to create a mine. You guys can. So it gives you that flexibility to be like, no, if we don't get a good price or we don't get a good team and we don't get what we're looking for, we'll develop it. We'll produce it.
Exactly. I think Prime's going to go out at a pretty good premium if it goes out.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely set up the stage for it, and I want to get a couple interesting factoids out there as well, because I'd heard in an interview that PRYM, the name actually has a bit of significance there. If you want to tell the story as to how you came up with the name for PRYM.
Yeah, so going back, I had an investment in a company called E-Power, and it was another group running it, and I agreed to come in and take control of it and look for the right gold project and build it forward. And we needed a new name, and I've been in the space for 35 years. I got started in the mid 80s, and I can tell you that it was a tough time. And the one guy that I remember that really stood out and worked all the time was a guy named Murray Pezum. He never stopped. He was a great promoter. He was responsible for the discovery, or funding the discovery, of Hemlo and Eskay Creek, two world-class famous mines in Canadian mining history. He had a company called PRYM Mining, and he died, and his son ended up taking it over. But that's where the name came from. I like to work. I work from early morning until late at night. I like that. I admired his work ethic, and so that's why we called it PRYM Mining.
I love tying in all those things, a little bit of tradition, a little bit of history, and it is that, I mean, you got to work hard, and especially in the mining sector. You got to be a little bit of a masochist for one thing, but you got to work, but also work smart, and that's what we've seen here. Is like attracts like. Hardworking people that have integrity, that have a track record in hitting milestones and picking good projects like yourself, attract like-minded people to build companies like PRYM is building at such a rapid rate. I mean, it's, in one degree, you go 2 years is a bit of a time. It's not. For what's being done in 2 years, it's exceptionally impressive. The stock has shown it, and there's certainly a lot more room in there as well.
Yeah, thanks. It's a great team. It's a great story to work on. It's exciting every day. We all look forward to coming to work, to advancing it, and even in this tough COVID time, everybody's buckled down and done a really good job. This is truly I don't know if it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for me, but it's certainly one of the better organizations, better assets, and extremely well-timed venture. So
no, and once this gets a lot more eyes on it, the stock is getting to a price as well where bigger funds can come in and there's bigger people can start. And like you said, you don't necessarily, certainly not anytime soon, need to fund up to 40,000 meters of drilling, roughly. That's, I mean, hopefully.
Yeah, we don't. You don't need. No, there's about 33 million. Well, when the financing closes, and that's still about another week away. But when it closes, there's $33 million in the treasury. There's another $5 million in warrants from expire this August. They're a 50-cent warrant. They're going to come in.
Yeah.
So you'll have. I imagine by the end of this drill program, you're still going to have 30 some odd million in the treasury, and there's just no need to. Yeah, there's no need for further dilution. I started off this segment with you guys saying we might never issue another share again, and that's very possible. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but it's possible.
Yeah. So if you want to get into a deal with Pierre Lassonde right now, you're going to have to go into the open market and start buying it.
There you go. That's right.
Good stuff.
So.
No, brilliant. That's fantastic.
Well, great. Well, Andrew, it was a real pleasure catching up with you, and thank you so much. It's been just spectacular to watch the growth of PRYM Mining. And like I said, there's so much happening here. It's just a matter of getting it out to people and letting them see how exciting it can be. And this story, I mean, it's shown in the graph. It's been just, up and down, but in the right direction. What a story, what a team, what a project. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing all the updates and the story as well.
Thanks very much for having me, gentlemen. It was wonderful. Love chatting about it anytime. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you, Andy.
Pleasure, Austin.